Oof, man, another ugly game, guys. That was rough to watch. Um, it's tough watching this team play. It really is. You have high expectations coming into the season. You get out to that great 5-0 start, and then you hit that West Coast trip. You go 1 for 3. You come home. You beat Charlotte. Not cleanly. And then you struggle against the Cleveland Cavaliers, who are basically a bona fide college team because of how young they are. Other than the two older statesmen there, Tristan Thompson and Kevin Love. Then you travel down to Orlando, where we haven't won in 3 years. Chalk up another loss here. And we lose to the 3-7 Orlando Magic. Yeah. Joel didn't play, load management, that corny ass shit that is like taking the league by storm because these athletes are so fragile, they're made out of glass. They don't either want to play 82 games or the teams just baby them so much that we got to save them for the playoffs. Let's look towards 6 months in the future so we can get ready for that. Well, you kind of got to get there first in order to play in the playoffs. Even without Joel, we should have beaten this team. Horrendous. Tobias Harris. Horrible. Absolutely horrible. 112-97, Tommy. We lost. His last 2 games, he scored 8 points. Last night against Cleveland, he was 0 for 11 from beyond the arc. Took less shots from 3 tonight. Was 0 for 3. This is the worst he's shot in his career. Horrible. And we were banking on him being one of our more prolific three-point shooters, but these past 2 games, the Sixers have been 16 for 68 from beyond the three-point line. When is it going to sink into Brett's mind that this is not a jump shooting team? It's just not. I mean, it's so pathetic that we had 1 free throw attempt with 3 minutes left in the third quarter. We almost played 36 minutes of basketball without shooting more than 1 free throw. And then you look at the opposition, they went to the line 34 times. So they were getting work done at the charity stripe. Whereas us, let's just stand around, let one guy try to create for himself. No movement without the ball whatsoever. Everybody's standing around, not doing anything. 1 shot, rebound, push. Defense can't get set. I mean, it's a joke. This offense is so predictable, it's not even funny. I mean, we eked out a win last night against Cleveland. It was total luck that we won because Kevin Love got a clean shot and he just missed. 9 times out of 10, he's draining that shot. So we lucked out with a Cleveland team that is not good at all. And then you come down to Orlando, which is probably one of the worst franchises next to the New York Knicks because they've drafted the same player, I think, like 5 times in a row. A super athletic big that doesn't know how to shoot. And they've got them all. You got Isaacs, you've got Aaron Gordon, Mo Bamba. I mean, just wasted picks year after year after year. And we struggle with them. Vucevic, ex-Sixer. They've collected a lot of ex-Sixers. You got MCW, Markelle Fultz, Vucevic. Killed us, as he usually does. It's usually a fun battle between him and JoJo. But he was just too much again. Evan Fournier is another Sixer killer. He didn't really do too much, but he had some big shots. And the turnovers. Let's talk about the turnovers like we haven't choked on these words enough ever since Brett Brown has stepped in this building. They were good in the first half, and then they completely shot themselves in the foot. Again, they had 7 or 8 turnovers in the fourth quarter. Unacceptable. The bright spot was I thought Jay Rich played very good tonight. I thought he was relentless. He seemed to be the only one that wanted to go up strong when there was traffic because they clogged the middle. Ben Simmons had a very good game tonight, too. Love the aggressiveness I saw out of Ben tonight. I hope he continues to do that, much like the growing confidence I've seen in Korkmaz. I want Ben to do that every night. Be aggressive. Cut to the hole. Cut to the basket without the ball in your hands because you can do it every time. Get ahead of steam. Nobody can stop you. And he flushed the ball at least 6 or 7 times that I can remember. That's what he can do. Nobody's going to talk about your jump shooting if you continuously do that night in and night out because you cannot be stopped if you do that. He's super. Him and Gordon remind me of somewhat similar play. Ben's a much better passer and rebounder than Aaron Gordon. And probably maybe I'll give the tick to Ben on the defensive end, but there were 2 athletic guys coming out. Don't know how to shoot the basketball, but it looks like Aaron Gordon has really worked on his game because he went 3 of 5 from downtown tonight. The Magic highly invested a lot of money in him. He's their cornerstone that they're going to build around, and I think his game has come along quite well. And tonight, I can't remember. I mean, the Magic were pretty putrid behind the arc too. I think they were 10 for 32, I believe. And they're the worst 3-point shooting team in the league, and they drained some big shots. Our problem is, and you look at how Orlando can manage. They had 3 guys that were over double figures. I think we only had 1 in James Ennis who had 10. And they could just have somebody come off the bench and light it up like a Terrence Ross. We don't have anybody that can do that comes off our bench. We're going to chip here. We'll, maybe get 10, 15 if we're lucky. But that's not created by themselves. Terrence Ross can create shots by himself. He's super athletic. He can hit big shots. He's a prolific 3-point shooter. He can score in bunches, is what I'm trying to say. We don't have that type of player coming off of our bench at all. And it just goes back to us constantly wanting to shoot threes non-stop. And I cannot take it. And we're going to suffer through this through the entire year. And I hate to say it, but it makes you wonder. You look at the schedule coming up. You figured this would be easy W's that we could get. Embiid's going to have his BS load management. The same with Al Horford. He didn't play in last night's game because they're going to do load management with him because that's the NBA we play in. And it just seems like the Sixers are constantly in the penalty, dude. They just constantly are foul. This it's just so disorganized. There's no X's and O's here that are being drawn up. It's kind of like just street ball out there. Dribble. We have nobody that can create on their own. Tobias just looks so bad. I think he plays so much better when JoJo's in the game. Ben won't shoot. Tobias is a major slump, and he's simply overpaid. Other than these 2 games, I really haven't had complaints about Tobias. He's been fine to me. You can say he's not worth the money. I don't think Ben Simmons was worth that money either. I don't think any of these guys are worth over $100 million. Every sports athlete in any major sport is overpaid. Nobody's worth that type of money. I don't care who you are. Mike Trout's overpaid. But so what? That's not why we're losing games. It seems the players we got, Josh, Al, Tobias, were better on their former teams. It's going to take a little bit of gelling and acclimating to this team. It's about more scoring. We don't have a guy who can get us buckets. Well, we do in Joel Embiid, but when he's not in there, who's going to take over the game? It's so focused on that offense when you've got JoJo when you want to work in and out, but he's our best player. And other than that, you don't have a guy that can create for himself. Ben cannot create for himself. Tobias cannot create for himself. Jay Rich really can't create for himself either. But out of those 3, I'd say he's the best out of Ben and Toby that can create their own shot. Horford's just going to do the right things, be in the right place at the right time. You can't expect Al to come in here and average 24 points when JoJo doesn't play. I don't know if that's what Brett expects. I don't like seeing Al Horford take 8 threes. I'm like ripping my hair out watching him when he's just standing at the top of the key. Again, lackadaisical, no ball movement everybody's just standing around. Cut to the basket, move, do down screens. Just keep constantly moving. You need ball movement. You're helping the defense when you do this type of shit. Like, if you only have to defend one guy, as you saw tonight, it's not effective. It's stagnant offense, and you're not going to win basketball games. You're going to lose to cruddy teams like the Orlando Magic. 3-7, bro. 3-7. You want to have championship aspirations? You got to down these teams with no trouble, even with your best player not out. This team is good enough to beat a team like that. When you're constantly missing open shot after open shot after open shot, it's frustrating. You got to change it up a little bit. Get physical. Get to the free throw line. It's free points, essentially. Free. There's nobody waving their hand in front of you. It's like they're afraid. They're soft. Nobody wants to get down and dirty like AI used to go to. 160 pounds soaking wet. Didn't care. He would get smashed in the face, thrown to the ground. He's okay, guys. You can do that too. Go in and get a little dirty. Get a little bloody. But if they're looking for this load management when they're looking towards playing in June, you ain't going to get there if you don't figure some stuff out. And now we're still, again, early in the season, but when you watch Boston play, you watch, I'm trying to think who else. Well, Milwaukee, they have been struggling too. Ben Simmons got to step off of I thought Simmons had a good game tonight. He was aggressive on the offensive end, which I love to see. He kept cutting to the basket. He was setting up for guys. I was okay with Ben. He's not going to be a guy that's going to get JoJo numbers. He's not going to give you 25, 35 points tonight. It's not going to happen. I think his max is about what we saw tonight, maybe 18, 22 if we're lucky. Yeah, right. No shooters. We knew this going in. We needed shooting. Shooting. Still our biggest issue. Scott, a good three-point shooter. You've got Tobias Harris, who's been putrid. He's been horrible. Going to take those threes. But, dude, put the ball in the basket. Get yourself in a rhythm. And what happens to the mid-range? Does everybody just continuously forget about mid-range game? It's either we're chucking up threes or, well, they're not even really trying to get to the line. But, Rip Hamilton, MJ, they all made a living off of that mid-range jumper. It's okay. It's like in baseball when they're just trying to hit a home run. Everybody forgets about bunting over, suicide bunts, or suicide squeeze, singles. You still get points that way. Try to get the mid-range game going. Do pin downs. Get a little high pick and roll. Do a little two-way game. I would love to see the two-way game between Toby and Ben. I think that would be really successful. Be really hard to stop. We saw little glimpses of it. Or with J. Rich, the pick and roll is so underutilized. Look at how successful teams are against us when they do it against us. We can't stop it. But it's you listen to Brett, and they ask about the shooting woes, and he just continues to say, let's keep shooting 500 threes. How many did they shoot last night? 41 threes? This team, we've got to be at one of the bottom in the NBA with three-point shooting. We have to be. Three-point shooting-wise, percentage, whatever it is. And we're top 3 in turnovers. Have been ever since the doormat's been here. But we're going to have to struggle through the season with Brett Brown. This is it for him. There's no more excuses. There's no more short straws being drawn. This is it for him. If he can't get it done with this team that he's assembled, regardless or not, you should be able to be effective with what we have. I'd say the bright spot on the bench are Furkan and Quinn earlier. Yeah, Furkan's been very good. I don't think we see enough of his game because he's more than just that 3-point shooter. I know he can put the ball on the floor a little bit. Maybe have him run a little bit of point. Do a little pick and pop with him and Ben. You saw a little glimpse of it. I think he gets in his head a little bit when he does break down the defense, and then they clog it up when the big comes over for the defensive side. He just kind of chucks it away. But they have to do something different. It's just so frustrating to watch. You know what's going to happen. And you can't lose to teams like this. If you can't beat the good team. Now, it's going to happen from time to time where you do lose to a gritty team like that or like a Cleveland. But when you're picked to go to the finals and you just see the same struggles night in and night out, it makes you question. Makes you wonder what is going to happen. Like, what is going to transpire from this? Are we going to see adjustments? But we seem to keep talking about the same things. Okay, other than tonight, Ben's aggressiveness on going to the hoop and shooting, we'll throw that together. JoJo's conditioning, still a big question mark. And whether Brett Brown has enough intelligence to coach this team to an NBA Finals. And the turnovers. But we've been talking about this for how long? Verbatim, over and over and over and over and over again. And just nothing seems to change. I just don't think Brett has... He's a player's coach. And I don't think that's what these young kids need. I don't think Ben and JoJo are ready just yet, but you have to add shooting. If you want to run an offense like this, you have to have more shooting. And J.J. Redick, I think, overshadowed a lot of this because of how good he was at shooting the three-pointer. Being able to kick it out and him hit some crazy threes, but we no longer have that in this lineup. You don't have a great three-point shooter like that who can release the ball that quick and knock down some big shots. That's who you need to surround Ben Simmons with, because look at LeBron. Same thing. What would they do? They'd sign vet minimums and surround him with great prolific shooters. You got to do the same thing with Ben Simmons. Same exact thing. And the bench got better. I think we can rely on our bench. O'Quinn has been solid. I think Raul Neto's been awesome. I mean, I like our bench. You still need that guy that's going to be able to come off and drop 20 in an instant like that. Like a Lou Will, like a Terrence Ross, a D. Rose, somebody of that nature. So I think they'll still be active around the trade deadline. I'd like to see something change a little before that. Keep an eye on Mariel Shayok, if I butchered his name, but Shayok down with the Bluecoats. 2 games, he's averaged 38 points. The kid can shoot a little bit. Keep an eye on him. Maybe he's coming up sooner rather than later. We could really use that offensive spark off the bench. Maybe he could provide us. Still early, though, for that season and us. But Sixers lose. Shoot horrific is not even the word. The stench from this team, from the shooting. Just the shooting angles, the three-pointers been putrid. And they haven't even been great at the line either. Would they shoot 69% when they finally did get to the line? But you got to get to the free throw line a lot earlier than that, a lot earlier than 3 minutes left in the third quarter. Ain't going to work. It can also mess up an offensive flow, even though Orlando doesn't have a prolific offense. Shot could be the best few years down the road. Do we have any expiring contracts? I don't believe we do, bro. Trey Burke can give us points off the bench. Yeah, he didn't get any action tonight with Ben back in the lineup. I think you're going to see his minutes reduced. And Brett seems to really like... And Neto's been good at the backup point, but maybe mix it up a little bit because I think Trey Burke's a little more offensive-minded than... Yeah, but he's got to go with the hot hand. His rotations are very mind-boggling to me sometimes, and it comes down to coaching a lot of the times. Offensive sets, putting your players in situations. Last two games were terrible. Yep, to terrible teams. Got to win these, especially when the big dog don't play. He had an interesting. He had an interesting summer league. He signed that two-way contract, so I believe he can come up. I think was the 45-day contract that he signed. They're going to experience or give him some time down there with the Blue Coats, get him a little acclimated, and then possibly bring him up here sooner rather than later. But we need shooting. We need guys that can create off the shot or create off the ball, create their own shot, and get others involved. We don't have anybody that can just break down the defense. Brett Brown must think the team is the 2018. Yeah, he does. Well, that's the Spurs way, man. He is coaching the way kind of Popovich does, because he comes from that tree, the Popovich tree, much like Budenholzer, Mike Brown. You could even throw Steve Kerr in there. Yeah, he's been averaging 38 points, Shayok. He can pull up effortlessly. But, yeah, he does. He thinks he's running that type of offense, but the difference is all those teams have shooting. We do not. We've got guys that are average shooters at best. Like, I feel like we thought, or I didn't think, but Josh Richardson would be shooting a higher percentage beyond the arc. I've been happy with Josh, though. I know. I didn't expect him to come in here and light it up from three, to shoot 40-some%. I knew what his skill set was, and I think he's shown that. And the more time he spends with the team, you're seeing bits and bits, more of how he played down in Miami. Great defensive player. I love the way he plays defense. He's gritty. He gets on the floor. He throws his body around. He can create a little. He can break down the D a little bit. I don't like him so much playing the backup point. But I think Brett has had more confidence and with Neto running that, but he doesn't give you that offensive spark that you kind of need coming off that bench. I really wish we could have got like a D Rose or somebody like that. Or like I wanted them to get Terrence Ross, but there wasn't enough money. That's the biggest issue. Look at the four guys in our starting lineup. They're making big money. If you combine their contracts total of what they signed, it's over $500 million. It's insane. Four guys over $500 million. But you got to keep an eye on it. What is it? Is it the players? Is it the coaching? Are the players not being put in the right position for them to win? A lot of questions that got to be asked. But these last two games are telling. I mean, that Charlotte game wasn't clean at all either. Harris is the worst max contract. Nah, come on, man. I love how everybody just automatically gets on Tobias. 1-2 bad games, and it's all his fault. Oh, $180 million. Oh, my God. Okay. Look at Al Horford. Do you think he's worth $109 million? Look at Ben Simmons, $180 million. How do you justify that? But he's going to fall on the sword because of that. Okay, he signed the big contract. You expect him to produce night in and night out. It's a lot of pressure when you got that type of money. I don't think he was the worst signing ever, though. Yeah, he's struggling mightily from three. Absolutely. But don't you think it should be in the coach's best interest then to try to draw up plays to get him going? Other than just kind of leaving him behind the arc stagnant? That's not how Tobias really plays his game. If you watched him in Detroit, even back in Milwaukee or when he was with Orlando, he's better off the ball or scoring on the move rather than just being he's not a stand-up, straight-up shooter. He's not. So I feel like it would be in the coaching's best interest to kind of get him going then. Draw a play specifically for him and kind of not what we've been watching. Jim, what's your R&R question today? I guess that's for somebody else. But, you definitely have to have a closer on this team, and Tobias is going to need to step up into that role. He has been absolutely horrible these last two games. Not giving him a pass, but I'm not going to sit here and say he's the worst NBA contract to ever be, you know. I don't think any of these guys are worth any of that type of money. They're all overpaid. Every athlete is overpaid. Let's just say that. You know, why don't you give lawyers, doctors that type of bread? They actually make a difference. These guys play a kid's game for a living. Damn, the Shayok dude really can shoot on all levels of the court. Yep. Yeah, he really can. You saw a little glimpse of it during Summer League. I thought he even had a chance to make the team after what you saw even in preseason. Yeah, you do have to overpay sometimes, and I was fine with that. You do. You had to overpay to get Al over here to have a solid backup. You didn't want Toby to go anywhere. You wanted to have that. He can score buckets. He's a good offensive player. You know? So sometimes it does have to happen. But Shayok, he could be maybe a little diamond in the rough that we got in the second round. And this leads me back to the draft. Even though Matisse could be a defensive player of the year at some point, the kid is always around the ball. He affects the game every time he does get minutes. He's fun to watch. He definitely is, but he's not offensive-minded. And that's what made me question, why not try to get a shooter at that point to go with the pieces that we've already had. Like, you have a lot of good defenders on this team already. You can kind of hide a guy that's not at great at playing defense with defensive schemes. So why not go get an offensive player? That's why I didn't like the pick of Matisse at that point in the draft. Try to go get a shooter, whatever it is. I think the Sixers are really eyeing the kid out of North Carolina that's with the Suns, Johnson. I can't remember his first name. I think he went earlier than everybody expected him to, and I don't think they expected Tyler Herro to go that high either. He was 36% from college for him. Yeah, I know, dude, but that's college. It's the college game. It's different. The NBA three-point line is a lot further. Well, not that much further, was it? It's 19 in college, and it's, 23 in the NBA? Yeah, Johnson, I just can't remember. It's not Brad Johnson. I cannot think of his freaking name. Cam Johnson, I think his name is. Kind of a stretch four. I know they were really eyeing him up, but the Suns took him way, way early. I really wanted to get Tyler Herro, though, but the Heat snagged him. Kid can get buckets. Reminds me a little, tiny bit of Devin Booker. Same college. A lot of those Kentucky players get overshadowed because you have so much talent on there. You don't get to display all your gifts when you're on a team like that, much like Alabama too. But that's why I did not like the pick there. Matisse just looks so lost on offense. He can hit the spot up. He's hit some threes, but you want a guy that's prolifically going to be a 38% three-point shooter. Now, can Matisse possibly get there at some point in his career? Yeah, of course, if he works on his game. But we kind of needed it now. Like, the time to strike is now. The process is over. We want to move forward. We want to move past the second round. So, a lot falls on Brett. A lot falls on 60-win team. That's comical at this point. Who said they were going to be a 60-win team? Yep. It's a finals win or bust, bro. Exactly. This team don't look anything close to a finals team whatsoever. Not at all. Now, again, early. It's going to take some time to gel, but I'm looking at the offensive woes that we're going through right now. I did half a week ago. Oh, with the 60 wins? Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't think that's going to happen. I'm praying we get to 50 wins this year. Ben hasn't improved at all. No, and that's the big thing. Ben's improvement, is he going to ever change? Is he ever going to pull up for the jumper? Is he going to be aggressive instead of passive? Like I said earlier, it's that. It's Joel Embiid being able to be in shape, be in conditioning shape, and he doesn't look like he's there. And then the god awful turnovers and Brett Brown. Those four things have been lingering for a couple years. Either he's still, yep, absolutely. Not all Ben. It's Ben, JoJo, and Brett Brown. It's all three of them. And you hear all the talks over the offseason, they feed us a load of crap of what we want to hear, blah, blah, blah. We see videos. We have statements. I've lost 20 pounds, gained it 5 back, blah, blah, blah. Well, we're 10 games into the season. No, 11. And you look like you got heavy legs already. I don't want to hear that bullshit of, oh, we're playing in the mountains of Utah and Denver, and you missed a week of basketball. You missed 2 games, dude. You serious? You ain't going to get out of shape in 2 games. You're 25 years old. Give me a break. It's excuses. And as opposed to Brett, like throwing the hammer down on him and making excuses. All he does is make excuses for him. See, that's where your coach should be man enough instead of being a doormat, instead of making excuses for you, help you out in a sense by not trying to be your friend and be your mentor and do what Popovich does, so to speak. You got to be a SOB sometimes. You're not trying to be their friend. Trying to be their dad. Trying to be their parent. He's back to the Chick-fil-A dinners. Yep. Was hoping everything was going to change with this young, and that's just immaturity too. Brett isn't the guy to take us to the top. This fan base is still stuck on the process. Yep. Absolutely, man. I thought after Brett Brown lost Game 7 last year, that should have been the hook. They should have got rid of him and hired somebody new. For some reason, he has 9 lives, got another shot at it. But this is it for him now. And I don't, honestly, and I hate to say it, I don't see this team winning the finals. They don't look anything close to resembling a finals team. I think Brett Brown has plateaued as far as this team can go, and that could just possibly be the second round. You need to be able to find that guy that can get you over the hump. Celtics have been outstanding. And I think they got better by losing Kyrie and getting Kemba. Because, I mean, as great as a player as Irving is, he's a cancer. He's a me guy. He's an ISO type of player. He's a video game waiting to happen. He puts up great games. Fun to watch as a player. But he's not a team player. There's no team chemistry. And I just think they got better by getting a player like Kemba. And then you can also have the growth of Tatum and Jaylen Brown. I believe Kyrie was kind of holding them back. Always rock Kyrie on fantasy. Yeah, he's a great stat guy. But that's pretty much it. He's not going to help young development, or he's not going to help develop young talent like a Tatum or a Jaylen Brown. He did nothing but hold them back. Remember when he was hurt, how well they did without him? He's a cheat code. So, they look outstanding, and they have a secret weapon in one of the best young coaches in the NBA, Brad Stevens. Imagine if we had a Brad Stevens that was able to coach the talent that the Sixers have. He'd figure out ways. It's just adjustments, man. It's all about adjustments. X's and O's. Brett doesn't have that. He is a bona fide cheerleader, and that's fine. He wants to be the players' coach. He wants to be their buddies. All for it. That's not a head coach, though. Why do you think Elton Brand thought he could build around those shooters? We need shooting, man. That's a good question, man. I think he believes a lot in Brett Brown and his ability to develop players. In Ben and JoJo, I just think they walk all over him, both of them, especially the whole relationship with him and Ben. going back to their time in Australia and him knowing his father and so on and so forth. So he's going to be the family friend and not get on Ben to be aggressive or shoot or whatever it may be. JoJo get into shape, stop eating Chick-fil-A, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it's pretty pathetic, man, that we lost to to the Orlando Magic. Welcome to the Sixers, a.k.a. where shooters go to die unless you're naturally a catch-and-shoot player, which we do not have any of those. It's awful. We have no creation, no guys that can create off the ball, create their own shot. They all have to be set up. And guys we're banking on, what little shooting we did have on the team are just not producing, other than Cork, who's been a bit of a surprise, and good for him. Hopefully this confidence can continue to grow. But, like, this team has no identity. They want to be the Golden State Warriors. They want to be the San Antonio Spurs. Stop trying to be another team and be your own team. You know, there's copycat leagues out there. They're all over. Football, basketball, baseball. It's all copycat. Whatever's successful that year that wins the championship, the whole league follows it. Golden State Warriors. Perfect example. They won all them championships off of shooting. So what does everybody want to try to do now? Jack up freaking 300 threes a game. I can't stand it. I hate it. It's a good element to the game if it's there. But it's a disgrace for a team to shoot close to 73 or 70, 73s in 2 games. I mean, it's like the Mike D'Antoni offense. Well, last year, teams that won titles, the big 4 spots, weren't against the trends. So, I just believe they should just kind of create their own way of winning. Stop trying to be somebody else and do you. Stop trying to mimic. I hate Joel when he takes 6, 7 threes beyond there. Trying to be like a Dirk Nowitzki or whatever. You're a 7'1", 250-pound center. Go on the block and do work. But none of them... And he falls in love with the shooting, too, because it's less physical. He doesn't want to bang down there all the time. I honestly think JoJo's a little soft. We don't utilize bully ball enough, in my opinion. No, we do not. I agree. Brett Brown has one-trick pony mentality as far as offense goes. 3-point shot. Yep, that's all he can draw up, man. He's not an X's and O's guy. Brett Brown is disgusting. Please move on from him. Yeah, well, they're not going to move on from him until this year. They're not going to get rid of him mid-season. They're not going to get rid of him. It's too early in the season, but they are going to rock out with Brett Brown until the end. They're going to see this through. What do you want instead of Brett Brown? Somebody that's going to be able to draw up more than one play. Somebody that's going to be able to make adjustments. If you want me to throw a name out there, it's not going to happen, but I'd love to have a guy like Jay Wright that could coach this team. I would even, dude, I don't know why people hate on Mark Jackson. I would love to have Mark Jackson coach this team. I wanted Lloyd Pierce before we got rid of him. So there were 3 names. I believe that Mark Jackson has been blackballed in this industry. What if we got 2 more big dudes? We need shooting. The hell with the big dudes. We need knockdown shooters. Yeah, the dude doing well. Yeah, that's Lloyd Pierce, who we used to have. Yep. He's a very good coach, and when he walked away from the Sixers, you saw a dip in play and creativity. Shouldn't Embiid be roasted for his lack of conditioning? Yeah, absolutely. He shouldn't get a pass for that. It's a joke. The dude's 25 years old. You sit here and swear up and down you're going to lose weight, but 4 or 5 games in, you got heavy legs. And then, excuses, high altitude, I missed 2 games, this, that. When I was 25, dude, I could run ball for 4 or 5 hours without getting tired. Different because I'm not playing 36 minutes straight, but I'm not a professional athlete. I'm also not 7'1", 250, but still. You would think he wouldn't be so exhausted all the time. And I don't know if there is a way you can really fix this with JoJo. Who knows if it's laziness on his end or maybe that's just the way his body's conditioned. I don't know. Amazing how Embiid looks checked out at times when he puts on work. I don't want him to become hardened, a big man body. Again, who's going to get on him enough to where it's going to stop? Don't play him for 3 or 4 games. You know, punish him. Do something. Do something that's going to get in his head to where you have to get in shape or you're not going to play. You got to be, again, it goes back to the parent mentality. When you have kids, you're not going to try to be your kid's friend. You want to be a superior. Be the adult. Tell them what's what, not their buddy. And Brett is their buddy. He's never going to be the dad. He's always going to be their buddy. I'm not your buddy guy. I'm not your buddy friend. So, disappointing loss to a team. This is where you got to pick up W's. We've been on the road a lot. It's our 4th straight loss now away from the Wells Fargo Center. You know what type of energy that the Wells Fargo Center can bring if you've ever been down there. But this wouldn't be acceptable at home. We would give them enough energy. That's why you want the playoffs to run through Philly. That's why you want to be the number 1 seed. All the Sixers, ex-assistants, coaches are coaching better than... Isn't that something? Isn't that a big red flag that all the assistants are doing well and Brett Brown's still scratching his nuts trying to figure out another play than the dribble handoff or just jacking up 35 threes a game? But he said it after tonight's game. Keep shooting, keep shooting, keep shooting. The players revolt if it's too hard and they win. Yeah, he has no control of this team or the locker room. But there's nothing we can do about it. We are stuck with Brett till the end of this season. So we're going to have to see where he's going to take us. But it's going to get ugly quick if this continues to happen. You know? And I hate the load management. God, I hate how the league has become. Not with JoJo, just JoJo, but you saw Kawhi. I saw the Memphis did it with Jay Morant the other night. 20-year-old kid couldn't play a back-to-back. Brett Clown. Team should be much better than it is, but keeps getting held back by suck on the road. Boston and Toronto keep winning. Well, they've got good coaches, Boston and Toronto. You got to be successful. You got to be more than successful on the road if you want to be a championship team. You don't want to be 2 or 3 games above 500. You want to be 15 to 20 on the road. You want to be just as good on the road than you are at home. Same type of energy. You know, because you're not always going to have the crowd there to fuel you, to give you that extra oomph, to be on your ass, to chew you out, to boo you. They don't want to hear that shit when they're at home. That's why they give it their all. They get lazy sometimes on the road. Toronto better start losing. Can't stand that team. Yeah, I don't like them either. You can't blow what up. When's next game and time? They have off. They're on the road again. Crap. Hold on a second. Let me check the schedule. It's right on my fridge. They play OKC on Friday at 8 o'clock. So, that team's in complete rebuild mode. They got Steven Adams there as the last understatement. They got the aging hamstrung guy can't have a healthy hammy in Chris Paul. I actually heard a caller, because I listen to some sports radio, that wanted to trade Ben Simmons for Chris Paul. That is just blasphemy. That's laughable. Let's take a 35-year-old point guard that, can't stay healthy and it makes $40 million a year and throw him into this offense. Yeah, okay. I don't know what kind of glue he was sniffing, or what kind of shrooms he was eating, or if he was half asleep. But that was the silliest thing I've ever heard. Like, that's jackass material. Thunder play hard, though. Hey, man. And you got to look at it this way. These young teams come in with a chip on their shoulder. They hear the media. They hear what everybody tweets about and talks about on ESPN. The Sixers were picked to walk into the finals because the East isn't that strong. Well, that was a load of crap because look at the success that Boston, Toronto is still having without Kawhi, so on and so forth. That's where coaching comes in. And who took a huge step forward when Kawhi left? Pascal Siakam, awesome. Fred VanVleet, awesome. And then coaching, of course. Nick Nurse knows where to put his players in the right situation. They don't have an overly talented roster in Toronto, but they play great team. They play great team ball. They are hot and smart, but Cantor ain't gonna cut it in a series. No, he sucks. I hate Enes Kanter. But they have Brad Stevens. And we know when it comes to the head-to-head that Stevens has the upper hand. Because he plays chess and Brett Brown's over here playing Battleship. He's not even playing checkers. He's playing goddamn Battleship. He's too confused trying to sink his Battleship in, and he sucks. He's just not even on the same playing field as Brad Stevens. If they were ever coming to series. We came out and punched him in the mouth game 1. It was awesome. But I'm still giving the upper hand to Brad Stevens when it comes down to a series. But if you look at the Sixers and their struggles over the last 3, in the playoffs, last 3 years, or 2 years, I'm sorry. Thompson and Love like $40 million in salary. Harris struggling, not impressed with the overall effort. I tear my own head off for the money these guys make on the game. I know. It's insane. They all make a shit ton of money. But they should know what comes with signing a big contract. People expect results. And you better, I mean, they still get paid, but still, you better, $40 million. That's how much Chris Paul makes, almost $40 million a year, like $38 million a year. It's sad that the Flyers are becoming the more entertaining team to watch the Wells Fargo Center. Yeah, I don't watch hockey, so I don't know what's going on all with that, but I've been drinking a lot of Pepto watching the Sixers play. Let's just say that. And I hate to have that negative thought in the back of my head, like, oh, here we go again, but it keeps creeping in there. Every single time. Because no adjustments are being made. And it's just the same old verbatim to the media. Blah, 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 blah. Talk's cheap. You know what I mean? I want to see results. I remember the Grizzlies were 7-2 the first 10 games last year, and look, they ended up... Well, it is early, but let's be real. Why would you want to keep winning if you're Memphis? You want to try to get draft picks. You get the tanks in. Same with Miami. Look at Miami's doing, man. For the Dolphins, I mean, not the Heat. They were doing great at the tank. They were taking all their starters out midway through the game to lose. Now they've won 2 games in a row. They're really shooting themselves in the foot out of a top pick. I mean, if you're a bad team, you want to continue to grow. You don't want to keep winning. Brett Brown is the NBA Andy Reid. I just have zero confidence in this guy. I 100% agree. I have zero confidence in Brett Brown. Look at the Boston series a few years ago in the playoffs. Couldn't draw one out. Couldn't get the big shot. Couldn't draw anything up. Same with Toronto. Those last 3 possessions, does anybody remember that? Awful. All turnovers. Couldn't draw anything up. Garbage. Who is that on? It's on the coach. That's who it's on. It's on Brett Brown. Not all Brett, but a lot Brett. He will also fall on the sword too. But there's no more excuses. So, moving forward, here we go. Shot clock violations in Game 7. It's terrible, man. That shouldn't happen. There was 3 straight possessions where they screwed the pooch in that game 7. And look what happened at the end of this game. 7 freaking turnovers. You're good with the ball, but when it matters most, you're turning it over. What would you rather depend on if your life was on the line? Trust Covington doing a layup or trust the Sixers play? I'd probably trust Covington doing a layup. I've seen way too much. It's the shooting is just putrid on this team. They can't hit wide open shots. It's bad. Seriously. Back in the day, how do you think Larry Brown would have dealt with this current roster? I think he would have molded it. I mean, you had a megastar in Allen Iverson. You know, the whole practice spiel. I'm not going to go into that. But Larry Brown laid down the hammer with AI. And they ended up respecting each other when it was all said and done. Years later. I know there was a lot of tension between the superstar and Larry. I mean, Larry was old school. But I think he would not put up with this shit with Ben and JoJo and, you know, just this whole thing that is happening here with the Sixers. You know, you got to have leaders step up, be vocal. I mean, you got one in Al Horford, but he's a newcomer. Got to have either Ben or JoJo step up and see these issues. He molded AI and the Pistons. Look at that defensive team. Look at that team that he had with the Pistons that beat that Lakers team. Should have drafted who? I mean, Larry Brown was such a great coach. That's the type of guy we need. An old school type of hard-nosed guy. Like the Phillies got in Girardi. Drafted. What do you talk about, Mighty Mouse? But when you're playing teams like these younger teams that don't really have much on the line, they're going to come in with a chip on their shoulder. Again, because they listen to the media, the tweets that the Sixers are picked to go to the finals, and they're going to try to smack you in the mouth. They're going to try to upset you. And maybe the Sixers are taking a little bit easier on these teams because they're not as good and they figure they can walk all over them. Well, games still have to be played. They look great on paper. You look at the rosters, you figure this is going to be an easy win even without Embiid. Well, not so much. Not when you go 8 from 30 from downtown. Not when you really don't draw too many offensive plays up. You're too afraid to go to the free throw line. You're too afraid to get fouled and go to the hoop. They could have traded one of them, though. Not known for his drafting Larry Brown. Yeah, that whole thing with him and Larry Hughes, promising Larry Hughes that they were going to draft him when you pass on Dirk Nowitzki and Paul Pierce. Sucks, because imagine either one of those guys. I don't think Paul Pierce would have jived with AI, but him and Dirk, nasty. But the draft's a crapshoot, so you really never know. You know, but I just think there's so many issues with this team, and it started off so well. I just hope they can get out of this funk. It's a long season. I don't know where you're going to automatically just start to find shooting. I just don't see the shots automatically starting to fall, like, night in and night out. Especially when you're constantly going to do this. This is the type of offense that they're going to run. They're going to continue to jack up 35 threes. We already know that. So, when is it all going to change? When are you going to change and not be one of the top 3 teams in the NBA when it comes to turnovers? Because that has ceased to change. When is it all going to be adjusted, y'all? I don't know. But my confidence is not there. I'm going to head up out of here. Sixers lose again to the Orlando Magic. We cannot beat them in that damn building down there. Maybe Disney's just, it's just too much to be distracted by. They can't get enough of Mickey and Minnie down there. If this was Miami, I'd understand. Great party town. But Orlando, where are the distractions coming from? Come on, guys. Don't look at their record and think you're just going to walk all over them. The Sixers need to find their identity. And We're going to need one of these young players to step up. We're going to need Tobias to earn his money and be a closer. We're going to need Ben to consistently be aggressive and take the jump shots if they're there. Look at Aaron Gordon. He's done it. He's made adjustments to his game. When is JoJo ever not going to have heavy legs? Is Brett Brown ever going to adjust his coaching style and not want to shoot 40-some threes a game? Is he ever going to turn into the coach that we want and be an X's and O's guy rather than a cheerleader? These are all questions that need to be answered. I'm Kyle Gaffner with the Bitter Birds. Sixers 7-4 on the season. Next game against the lowly OKC Thunder. Catch you then, y'all. Peace!